Schmoozing with Brad and Yo-Yo and Vanessa. So here's some good news. Another Trump-era office immigration rule is now to the heaps of history, who is now a relic. The Immigration and Customs Enforcement has terminated the office focusing on crimes of undocumented immigrants and help and victims who were United States citizens. On Friday, ICE announced that it was shutting the Victim of Immigration Crime Engagement Office and replacing it with a new program to provide victim support regardless of immigration status of the victim or the perpetrator. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said in a statement, all people, regardless of their immigration status, should be able to access victim services without fear. The Trump administration launched this program back in April 2017 as a fulfillment of then-President's executive order on immigration. Formation of the office followed Trump's repeated public comments linking immigrants and criminals, most notably a speech in which he referred to Mexicans as criminals and rapists. According to, where is my quote, the Biden administration's replacement program called the Victims Engagement and Services Line will include guidance on visas for immigrants who are victims of crimes or human trafficking. The Trump administration based this entire thing saying there was unheard voices of Americans who were victimized. It was number 7. Let me get that quote. Critics said at the time that the office was part of several measures that would skew public opinion against immigrants. Then Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly said the goal of the office was to give resources and support to families that he said previously felt unheard. Yo-Yo and Vanessa, I've never met an American citizen who felt unheard after they were the victim of a crime. This office was made strictly as a political tool to bring publicity to the few people who got injured, hurt, were victims of crimes by immigrants of color, that Trump could say, you see, and brand everybody a criminal. Fact is, statistically, there's more crime by Americans against immigrants than vice versa. But I never heard of an American who needed help. I heard of people who need help as victims. But to say they were voiceless, an American citizen voiceless, all people who are victims deserve the same treatment. It was just totally political. Totally political. I'm glad it got changed. Meanwhile, since Biden took office, ICE has taken several steps to reverse or modify agency policy. Biden rolled out ICE guidelines focusing the agency's law enforcement more narrowly on immigrants who pose national security, border security, or public safety risks. This is a very good time. If you are an immigrant who has an order of removal, it's a good time, a very good time. I got to fix my thing here. It's a very good time to make a motion to reopen because President Biden has changed the rules. He's given prosecutorial discretion to those who don't have criminal records, for those who have long-term stays in the United States, who have been here a long time, who are elderly, who may have health issues, who may be separating families. They will allow you to make those motions to reopen now. So I think it's a good time. I've been speaking to a lot of people about that. So it's a good thing what President Biden is doing in regards to this area. Meanwhile, Stargirl Mika sent this story to Jilly. Around 8:45 this morning, authorities detained over a dozen migrants who came ashore along the Intracoastal Waterway in Pompano Beach, Florida. Broward Sheriff's Office deputies and U.S. Customs and Border Protection officers responded to the scene along Southeast 28th Avenue. According to CBP officials, 14 migrants were detained. One migrant spoke with 7 News, the local news in Florida, saying the group left the Bahamas on Thursday morning. And they were originally all from Jamaica. One person said, we don't want to leave. We want a better life. There is no life in Jamaica right now. So
really want to live, want a better life.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I mean, think about what you have to go through, Yo-Yo and Vanessa, to take literally a boat from Jamaica to the United States and just literally try to run ashore. You know, what kind of life you would be leaving. Sad.
So
sad all around. Sad all around. Yeah. Meanwhile, here's some good news. The United States has a new federal holiday today. The U.S. House has voted 415 to 14 to make Juneteenth or June 19th the 12th federal holiday recognized across the entire federal government. The bill is now going to President Biden's desk. He's expected to sign it into law before June 19th. Commemorates the day when Union soldiers brought the news of freedom to enslaved black people in Galveston, Texas, 2 months after the Confederacy had surrendered. They didn't know that the South lost the war yet. That was also about 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation freed the slaves in the southern states. So this was the last place in the United States, at least historically, there may be others that I'm not aware of, but historically, where the slaves were finally emancipated, and it was on June 19th, 1865. Now, breaking news, Biden just actually signed it, Jill, just put in my ear. So it just happened just as I was talking about it, coincidentally. Now, it passed 415 to 14. There were some Republican lawmakers who opposed it. They said, we want to focus on what unites us rather than what our differences are, so therefore I'm voting no. I can't think of anything that is more uniting than this. I think it's actually the opposite. I think when you vote against this, you are voting for disunity. You are voting for hatred. You are voting to not recognize our history, whitewash it, literally whitewash it. So I think that it's the opposite of what they're saying. I'm sure you guys agree.
Yeah, I feel like if anything, it's been a long time coming. And Yo-Yo, we're always talking about how important, the Black Lives Matter movement is, and it's like hundreds of years later, here we are. But at least here we are.
Yeah, and you know what? And do you think, Yo-Yo, had it not been for the Black Lives Matter movement, do you think Juneteenth would be recognized right now in 2021 that as a federal holiday? Do you think if had not been for the Black Lives movement, had it not been for football players kneeling, I mean, think about it. Do you think, No,
absolutely not.
So so I mean, in a way, we have a long way to go, and we see this in the news every day. But also in a way, it's nice to celebrate our victories as they go along. Certainly, absolutely. We're in a much better position than the slaves of Galveston, Texas, 1865. Okay, and certainly we've come a long way since then. We still have a long way to go, but these victories, some big, some medium, they all add up over time.
It's definitely progress.
It is progress. Wait, still got to go.
Yeah, we of course. But progress is better than, staying exactly where it was, 50 years ago. So I take this as a great celebration.
I agree. And also today, Obamacare survived the Supreme Court. Supreme Court ruled 7-2 upholding Obamacare. They were sued by approximately 20 Republican states saying Obamacare was illegal, and what they were claiming was illegal was the mandate that everybody has to have health insurance. And what the court said is these states have no standing to bring a lawsuit. Yo-Yo and Vanessa, law question. What is standing? not literally standing in front of me. What is standing in a court? So, because that's what every newspaper article says. States didn't have standing, so therefore Obamacare lives on. Who knows what standing means?
Well, I don't know. That's the
Good question, right?
right.
I know the answer. Vanessa, you know?
Answer to the question.
If you had to take a guess what standing is.
No, I don't have the answer to that question.
Standing, whenever you see the word standing in a legal term, and say you don't have standing to bring this lawsuit. You don't have standing means you don't have you
Like
don't
proof?
No. You don't have any stake in the outcome of the decision. That's what it means. So in other words, these states brought this lawsuit saying Obamacare is illegal. It's the mandate's illegal, and what the Supreme Court says, what do you care? You have it doesn't affect you one way or the other whether it's illegal or legal. So they didn't actually make a decision whether it was illegal or legal. What they said is, what do you care? It doesn't affect you. Whether we overturn Obamacare or not, you states, it doesn't affect you whatsoever. That's basically what they said. It's like saying, Yo-Yo builds a fence 6 feet onto Vanessa's yard. So now he is illegally encroaching on Vanessa's yard because he built a fence. And I come along from 3 towns over and I sue Yo-Yo. What do I care about Vanessa's fence? I have no stake in the matter. Same exact thing. So that's what standing means. So you always have to have standing in the matter. You got to be able to show a court that the outcome of this dispute affects me.
Got you.
That's what standing means. Meanwhile, I'm sorry?
Learn something new.
Learn something new every day.
Uh-huh.
Meanwhile, President Vladimir Putin met with Biden yesterday, and after his meeting, Biden said that he warned President Putin that the United States would use offensive cyber operations in the future unless the Kremlin clamps down on the cyber strikes. Well, it's about freaking time. It's been 5 years. All we read about is Russia's hacking us. Russia's hacking us. They got the emails. They're overturning the machines, and every machine has Russian KGB in it for 5 years, right?
Right.
Right.
For 4 of those years, he had a Putin lover in Trump, but still, it's about time. We say, you know what? We're going to hack you back. I've been waiting for this. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Are you in favor of that theory, Vanessa?
Listen, I'm not a confrontational person, but if this is what it takes to start resolving things that we need resolved, then let's move forward.
Are you an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth? It's about time. Let's hack them back. A hack for a hack. That's what I say.
I am.
What?
I am.
Yeah. Meanwhile, everybody is into this. By the way, do you own any Bitcoin or Ethereum?
No, I do.
You do?
I don't.
You
but
don't.
I need to.
You need to.
Say, put me on.
You need to.
I'm not.
You don't have any Bitcoin or Ethereum either. One of the things with Bitcoin is that it's untraceable, and a lot of criminal syndicates use it because it is completely untraceable. So, once you got your Bitcoin, whatever they do with it, it's gone. It's in the clouds. You never see it again. Well, last week, for the first time ever, the United States government tracked down the Bitcoin. And what they tracked down was, remember when that pipeline got hacked and they had to close down and there was a gas shortage in the South for a few days?
Oh, yeah, I was a part of that shortage in the South. I was a part of that.
That's right. And it was the Colonial Pipeline, and they had to pay a ransom to the hackers. And they paid them $5 million in Bitcoin to unhack the hack, I guess, to let Colonial Pipeline back into their systems. Well, the FBI tracked down that Bitcoin, and out of that $4.45 million that was given to the hackers, they were able to get back $4.4 million of it. first time ever in the history of Bitcoin that the U.S. government was able to track it down. So it is not as as secure as maybe people think.
Well, that's the FBI, though.
Yeah, but in other words, it is the currency of the criminals. Criminals like this, apparently, because they say they can get paid in Bitcoin and nobody knows who you are or where you are. Well, and these were some serious criminals if they were able to shut down a U.S. pipeline.
So they got away with 1.6 mil.
They got away with some of it, but the United States got a lot of it back. I don't think for the $1 million that they eventually got away with that it really paid. That crime really paid. They really, piss off the U.S. government like that. Meanwhile, El Salvador, this is bizarre. What do you think of this one? El Salvador is the first country in the world, they announced also last week, to make Bitcoin an official currency of the entire country. So you can now go in El Salvador with Bitcoin and pay anywhere you'd like, whether they accept US dollars now and Bitcoin. So there's two official currencies in El Salvador.
And to think that a third world country is one of the first countries to adopt this currency. I mean, me coming from a third world country and in general, Yo-Yo, I feel like there's progress in a lot of third world countries that we don't usually highlight. So we'll see how this turns out.
Well, you could look at it positively like that. I look at it another way.
How do you look at it?
I look at it as El Salvador is a third world country. How many people actually have access to high-speed internet? How many people actually have access to computers? How many people have access to Bitcoin? How many people actually have the knowledge of Bitcoin in El Salvador? Okay, I don't even get it, and I'm in New York and I'm a pretty educated guy. Okay, so to me,
that's true, Brad. Someone can come over and take advantage of this in their country as if it wasn't already a place where people are taking advantage of different things on the daily.
To me, it seems more like they're opening up El Salvador to who uses Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I don't want to call it out, but who do you think?
And that means they're going to be buying land out there and property and turning it into their own thing. I see it all the time. It's happening in Ethiopia. That's why I'm like, I couldn't even see Ethiopia coming out and doing this because, one, like you said, our energy isn't the best. Like, my family have nice houses there, and even their electricity goes out. The Wi-Fi goes out. Like, this happens on a daily type of base. So it's interesting. Now I'm kind of wondering, why did they agree to making Bitcoin
Salvadorian lawmakers overwhelmingly approved it. Now, according to the Bitcoin law, approximately 70% of El Salvador does not have access to traditional financial services. The cryptocurrency is seen as a way to increase financial inclusion. However, critics are saying that Bitcoin is extraordinarily volatile. They don't have the internet access, the high-speed internet access, the computer access. And really, perhaps El Salvador, which is one of the poorest countries in all of Latin America, is really opening up their country to drug dealing and gangs more than anything by doing it. I don't know. You could look at it either way. I'm a little more pessimistic. Vanessa, a little more optimistic on it.
I'm stuck on the aceptamos Bitcoin sign on that grocery there in El Salvador. Aceptamos Bitcoin. Like, who has Bitcoin here?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Exactly. So here's the grocery store. Okay. Look at the grocery store. How many people walking in this grocery store have access to Bitcoin? Okay. The only ones have access to Bitcoin I would think are the gang leaders, the criminals, the drug lords, and maybe the legislatures that are getting paid off.
Not the people who actually need it.
Correct.
The people who need.
Correct. That's yeah. So I'm a little more pessimistic on that. Because it was like a big celebration. I'm like, well, wait a second. Who's using this Bitcoin in El Salvador?
Right.
All right, we got 600,000 deaths of coronavirus. The good news is the Biden administration is now investing $3.2 billion to advance development of antiviral treatments for COVID-19. The plan, called the Antiviral Program for Pandemics, will support research to identify and accelerate the availability of treatment options for COVID-19. There are few treatments that exist for many of the viruses that have what we call pandemic potential. Vaccines clearly remain the centerpiece of our arsenal. However, antivirals can be and are an important complement to existing vaccines. I'm gonna call out BS on all of this. Yo-Yo and Vanessa. You wanna know why I call BS on this?
Why?
And I blame the pumpkin. Now all of a sudden they feel that they can get an antiviral treatment in a pill by the end of the year, but they couldn't do it last year. All of a sudden they discovered how to do it, but last year they couldn't. I call I'm a BS. Because they could have done this either in conjunction with vaccines. They could have saved lots and lots and lots of lives. I call this whole entire thing BS. Even when I was sick with COVID, they have remdesivir, which is what Trump took to save him from COVID. And I went to 3 hospitals to try to get it, and I couldn't get it. They sent me home. They sent me home from 3 different hospitals, told me to go home and die. I mean, I lived, but that's basically what they said. So
Now,
they've had the ability to treat people for COVID since the beginning. They just put their money into vaccines over treatment. But mark my word, in a year or two, you're going to be able to go to a drugstore and you come down with COVID, call up your doctor, you get a pill, just like you get a pill because you got a bacterial infection.
Now, do we, and I'm not playing devil's advocate, and I just want to hear from you boys, but do we want to say that we need to have patience with science and developments and see what did work or what didn't work? Vaccines was what we went to straight, but
it was a political decision to go to vaccines over treatment. I don't know why. It was decided, politicians decided that. Fauci decided that, Trump decided that, or whoever was advising Trump. But they could have done both.
Because they have access to the treatment that we didn't get access to.
Yeah,
so
but in other words, they could have done both. They could have done treatment over vaccines.
Oh.
Now it just what I say is I'm a BS. You know, when I say I'm a bull, you know what? It's because they had this technology and science. They had this last year too. Don't give me this BS, they did it. So now why all of a sudden are they doing it now and not last year? Why all the focus on vaccines? Why not treatment? Why not do both? We have plenty of money. We have plenty of scientists. We got plenty of drug companies here. Why? I don't know.
Yeah.
Not to say the vaccines don't work. I'm just saying I call BS on it though. That annoys me when I read that. Meanwhile, we got to span the world for the wackiest, craziest, most ridiculous people of the week in the news. Yo-Yo and Vanessa. And the wackiest, craziest, most ludicrous person in the news this week, Vanessa, was a lobster diver who got swallowed by a whale and lived to tell about it. Yes, we're starting off our wacky world news in Provincetown, Massachusetts, where lobster diver Michael Packard, a little before 8 a.m. last Friday, who was diving in water temperatures about 60 degrees and about 20 feet below the sea, looking for lobsters. He's a licensed commercial lobster, but he had a biblical experience. All of a sudden, he got eaten in full by a huge whale. He says, all of a sudden I felt this huge shove, and next thing I knew, it was completely black. I could sense I was moving, and I could feel the whale squeezing with the muscles in his mouth. Initially, he thought he was inside a great white shark, but he couldn't feel any teeth. He hadn't suffered any obvious wounds. He finally realized it's a whale. Packard said, I was completely inside. It was completely black. I thought to myself, there's no way I'm getting out of here. I'm done. I'm dead. All I could think of was my boys. Outfitted with scuba gear, he struggled, and the whale began shaking its head so that Packard could tell he didn't like it. He estimated he was inside the whale for 40 seconds before he kicked or punched his way out. You buy this? You buy this whale tale?
Where was it? Where did this take place? Where in the? This was right here.
This is right off of Cape Cod in Provincetown, Massachusetts.
That's wild.
I mean, you have to live to tell the tale, so why not believe that this happened? How about that?
Yeah, I did. Well, I think it did because even when I read about this story, I think last week, it said that he usually goes in with a partner or something like that, and like they were on the boat and they saw him kind of just like shoot up out of the water with his fins on, his his whole scuba gear, and then jumps in and like they pulled him in and he's like, yo, I was just swallowed by a whale.
Did anybody see him get swallowed by a whale?
Because it was underwater.
Can you live 40 seconds inside a whale?
Yeah, scuba gear.
Why not? It's like what's that Finding Nemo? There's just a bunch of water in there and you're just inside a whale. You got to swim your way out. Has no one watched Finding Nemo?
That's a cartoon, Vanessa. You're comparing his story to a cartoon.
Well, and then what it said, I think when I read if I'm correct, he said something about the esophagus is like really small as well of the whale. So like when he was going in for a school of fish, he just was in there because it's huge. Like it holds like 15 SUVs worth of water. Like it can take in. So he just got taken in with that. So I don't think whales like the taste of human beings. So that you probably didn't want him in there anyway. So that's why you spit him out.
Now Packard's fellow crewman Josiah Mayo picked him up, called the radio to shore, sped back to Provincetown Pier. A Provincetown Fire Department ambulance took him to Cape Cod Hospital. Jokey Robbins, director of humpback whale studies at the Center for Coastal Studies in Provincetown, said based on what he described, this would have to be a mistake and an accident on the part of the whale, just like Yo-Yo says. The whale expert agrees with Yo-Yo. The whale made a mistake. The whale made a mistake. And by the way, this guy Packard, he's had a bunch of close calls. He's been with divers who were dragged out to sea by other fish. He was once treading in water for hours before being rescued. He once recovered a dead body of a fellow diver. He was even in a plane crash 10 years ago. This guy, I wouldn't get near this guy. He's an accident waiting to happen.
He has 9 lives. This man is a cat.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I buy the story. Guy gets swallowed by a whale. I don't know if it's true or not. Jill says it is.
I think it is.
Yo-Yo says it is.
I think it is.
Vanessa says it is. I'm a little more. I'm like, I don't buy. He got maybe the whale bit him, but I don't buy that his entire body from toe to head was inside the whale for 40 seconds.
You got a big ass mouth. Oh, sorry, big mouth.
Meanwhile, Vanessa, in Indonesia, there was a big wedding. There was 2 big weddings, as a matter of fact. Problem is that the groom of the wedding went to the wrong venue and married a complete stranger in Indonesia. How does this even happen?
What?
Yes. Almost marries, didn't always. A GPS snafu almost led a groom to marry the wrong woman in Indonesia. The groom, whose identity has not been disclosed, used Google Maps to get to his wedding venue in Mapalang, a city in central Java, Indonesia. However, the engaged man wound up at the wrong address. Instead of arriving at the venue where his wedding was supposed to take place, the groom and his entourage stopped at the house that was highlighted on the location app. Unbeknownst to that group, an engagement party was being hosted at the house for another couple. The groom's entourage reportedly shook hands with the family, exchanged offerings, took their seats, and were ready to start the wedding. It was not clear to the 2 groups that a mishap had occurred, since the groom's guests assumed the attendees who were already there were family members of the bride. Meanwhile, the woman's family assumed the new arrivals were family members of the fiancé. Can you imagine? Now, photos and videos of their hilarious exit were shared on Twitter and Instagram once they discovered all of this. One clip posted by the Borador News Instagram account went viral with more than 35,000 views, with them all leaving the wrong wedding. It's a shame. An Instagram commenter wrote in Javanese along with a laughing emoji, there may have to be a pickup team for them. That's pretty weird.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Yes, and in India, traveling to India, man with 39 wives. Surprised he lived this long. He was 76 years old with 39 wives, 94 children. Died at age 76. This guy. Let me tell you something.
Oh my gosh.
2 wives, I would be dead of a heart attack. I wouldn't make it to 39 wives. 1 wife is more than enough. Yo.
Gosh.
Sorry, Vanessa. I'm just talking as another man. Thinking about another man having 39 wives.
What was our gentleman from yesterday? He was the
sperminator.
The sperminator, except that this gentleman claimed that.
Yeah, this gentleman,
Right.
The sperminator, he would just give a donation. Okay?
Right.
I mean, this man, if we go
Yeah.
back, let's look back at his picture. Okay? I mean, he was, according to the Weight Watchers app, he was burning calories every day. Right? I mean, no wonder. Look, this guy has no fat on him. He should be the cover man for the Weight Watchers app. We talked about yesterday.
Right,
Remember that?
It's a good system. The system works.
Yeah. Now, how does he allowed to have 39 wives? Let's figure that one out. Ziona Chana, the head of a local Christian sect, allows polygamy. So they allow polygamy in this sect. This sect has a total of 167 members, and this is the world's largest family, according to local media. Winston Blackmore, the head of a polygamous Mormon sect in Canada, has around 150 children with 27 wives. That's 178 family members. It's a lot of family members to feed. He must be working a lot of jobs. Yo. No?
Or his kids are working too, and we do it as a family.
I don't know.
That many of
but that is very weird. I'm not in favor of multiple wives. But he died with 39 wives. What's wrong with this guy? All right, I have in my hand 2 more stories. We only have time for one. The one above the schmoozing, or the one above, which one? The one above schmoozing, the one above my pocket square. Pocket square, schmoozing.
I'm looking for the pocket square.
Pocket square.
Yep.
All right. Meanwhile, a coastal town in Western Japan has drawn criticism on social media for using some of the coronavirus relief funds it was given by the government to build a giant statue of a squid. The town of Noto in Ishikawa Prefecture was awarded $7.3 million in yen in grants from the government for aid programs to aid the local townsfolk during the pandemic. Instead, they took $229,000 and they built what is now a statue totaling 13 feet high, 29 and a half feet long of a squid. Local government official told domestic media that the squid is a local delicacy. The grants were not specifically earmarked for spending related to treating coronavirus patients. You know, listen, you get a grant, you can do it whatever you want with it. All right, we gave out grants to everybody in the United States of America. Are we questioning what people did with their money? Right? With the stimulus, it's the same thing. Townsfolk want to build a squid? More power to them.
It's like, why waste the money?
It is an absolute waste of money. I don't hear you, Vanessa, but it is an absolute waste of money. You have to put your volume on,
One
Vanessa.
man's trash is another man's treasure, so
That's
you never know.
That is right. You know, I mean, we're not sitting there questioning what people did with their stimulus. I've heard a lot of stories about people wasting their stimulus money. Right, you're just judging. But maybe the townsfolk love the squid. They walk by and they say, that's the most beautiful squid I ever saw. Who knows? Thanks for watching. For more Bradshaw Live, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.